States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seven PM. The city of Grant abides by the Nebraska Open Meeting Act and conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meeting Act is displayed in the meeting room as required by the Nebraska State Law on the South Wall. The mayor and the city council reserve the right to enter in a closed session at any time during the meeting and a closed meeting act, even though a closed session may not be indicated. Is it the intention of the mayor and the city council to take an item on the agenda in the order they're presented at all? However, we reserve the right to take up matters in a different order to accommodate the schedule of the city council. The city of Grant further reserves the right to adjust order of items on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, with a limit of 2 individuals speaking per. Please come to the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record and the agenda you wish to speak upon. Did everyone have a chance to review the agenda?
Except 3/7/2024 proposed agenda.
And I move Tierney seconds that we accept the August 27th, 2024 proposed agenda. Any discussion? Sam?
Yes.
Andrew? Tierney?
Yes.
Motion carried. Review and action of prior special meeting minutes, August 21st, 2024.
Move to the action on prior special meeting minutes for August 21st, 2024.
Second.
Tierney moved, Sam seconds that we accept the prior meeting minutes from August 21st, 2024 and waive the reading. Any discussion? Tierney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Communications, Edward?
All right. We'll go through a list of dates here. And then just a few notes. Last day for the pool operations is Saturday, August 31st. I wanted to extend a thank you to Sam and the mayor and the council for sponsoring the pool party for the employees and the committee volunteers. Sounds like this might be a reoccurring thing in which we have more time to plan for everyone's schedule, but I personally wanted to thank you for that opportunity, and I wasn't able to attend. I appreciate that being off. Thank you. You didn't have to do that from your own wallet. September 2nd, the office is closed in observance of Labor Day. September 4th, we will have our budget hearing at 6 p.m. In this very room. September 10th, the cemetery board will meet at 5:15 p.m. in this room. And then later that same evening at 7, we will have our next city council meeting. And then I might make note of the library's regular meeting on September 11th at 5:15 p.m. There may be a CRA meeting that gets scheduled in there somewhere, depending upon how quickly we can get everything together and how quickly they need to meet again for bond documents, so on and so forth. So we'll try and facilitate that as best we can. We'll be fogging for mosquitoes this evening and on a regular basis going forward. Really up until about a week ago, it has not been a necessity. Thank you, Mother Nature, for raining. We appreciate that. Eric is working on installing some bollards to the west of the new playground to limit through traffic coming through there. Again, it's a huge thank you to everyone who could attend the ribbon cutting for that. I think there was probably 150 people there. like 200 with the kids. I didn't count all the kids. I tried to do my feedlot counting in tens. But it was really great. Pastor Heckman gave a blessing. Nicole said a few words, and the family held the ribbon and or cut it. So it was very touching.
Lots of cheers.
And we had some playground envy because the school didn't have theirs done yet, and we did. So they do have theirs done now. It's been done since then. But we have a little playground in there, so all good. And even asked to borrow our big scissors and our ribbon. So we may be sharing those with the school at some point. No biggie there. And then just a quick note on our new employee's progress here. He will be taking his driving test on Thursday for his CDL. He's been training with Bill, and things are going very well there. As well as I have him scheduled for his water operators and backflow classes coming up in the next few months. So things are going well with that. So, that's all I have.
Right, thank you very much. Standing committees. Andrea?
The library met, after the last meeting, and it was pretty much, nothing new there. The tree board met last week and they received a grant, up to $18,000 to tear down the trees, so, which is a good grant for help them.
Yeah, is there any restrictions, like, can people like put in a request for the dead tree to be torn down, or
No.
does the tree board pick it?
Trees were identified by Mr. Forney and Doug Kane, and John Forney is our certified arborist, so he identified the 90 trees that were the worst at trees in public right of way.
Okay. And then, cemetery met and they had some questions on the kiosk. It's not like occasionally they're having some problems with it. So I think Edward was gonna look into that. And I thought that meeting was decided to be moved to Monday night, not Tuesday night, because there was not gonna be quorum.
All right.
I thought so. I thought they moved it to
Monday night.
Monday the 9th versus the
Okay.
10th, because there was no quorum, so they needed.
Thank you,
to-
Andrea. You're correct.
And otherwise, there's not much of the meetings, they were just being in general.
Wrote it on my notepad, but in my calendar, it's right.
Okay, very good. Tierney,
And then
Sam?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
CRA did meet yesterday, largely to review and approve unanimously for your recommendation. The items you will see later on in new business, and once reason Austin is here from Northland. Unanimously to approve those recommendations for waiving the 3 readings due to the project timeline, and Austin will go over that as well. And why it's necessary for the city to have these documents. And it's still the CRA's responsibilities. More information to come.
Very good, thank you. Everyone had a chance to review the sheriff's report. Make your sheriff review. Financials, Jesse, thank you for those.
Yes. And I thought, since we'll have some stuff for the lottery later this evening, I would, kind of go over and remind everybody that the Lotto checking account currently has $18,420.40. And we had budgeted this year for we had 17,820.40 budgeted, and we used 400.
So basically, I have 18,000. All right, anything else for us, Jesse?
I don't think there was anything else, but I feel like it was a lot of things.
All right, please, no, we accept financial. Yeah. We need somebody to come back today. All right, moving on to unfinished business, action and discussion on resolution 240704. Take it away.
I'm actually with West Central. Tonight I'll be presenting the 2024 Nebraska grant nuisance program. And the first one, was never declared and made accepted. So.
We see this first one, 304 Schuman has cleared. It's two cleared, yes. My next item is the cemetery budget. Our kitchen home.
Sorry, that's Tim as well under unfinished business. Switch working on a forum if it could be less. We should be our 18th, but we will under but.
We fix up to 24, 25, 20% of that some very board.
Andrea move. To the substance that we accept the 2024 budget presentation by the city board, any discussion? Sam, how do you vote? Jane?
Yeah.
Yes. Motion carried. Alright. Okay, back to new business, resolution 240802.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep, it's great. I have pictures for those because they're clear.
Move to rescind resolution 240802. Weird.
Can we remove to rescind that we received resolution? 240605, and that's 380850 Any discussion? Sam, how do you vote? Julia? Yes. Jamie?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution 240803. Operating movies.
I'll accept action on resolution to rescind with which number 24. Yes, so big, that's for three, these will be put in small property, one of them is.
So, can you move? Henry second. You approve resolution 240803, rescinding prior resolution 240606 on 101 West First Street. Any discussion? Andrea, how do you?
Yes.
Sam? Terry?
Yes.
Motion carried. Action and discussion on motion to abate at 228 Garfield.
Here. Your structure with fire. We said.
And have you had any contact?
He did take care of all of the license vehicle or that.
So what exactly?
They ordered it all.
So he could just say, any kind of order, just yell and or really need to be quick. We're gonna.
He did say the word very we're very strong. He said it was a sword or stable. At least. Not. Each and our.
Changing rates, from rates, rates,
Sam Moon, Terry Slippin, to give a 328 vertical. Having any discussion? Sam Moon,
Yes.
Terry, yes, motion carried, thank you.
Our numbers, community center, knowledge 76 Philippi Leonard, and 72 property cleared, gave to mentioned one property is already ready to abate, or one of them to abate.
We're see them. Thank you so much for being here and presenting and yes, report. Discussion on resolution 24. Oh, sorry. Motion and discussion on request for keep. Sorry.
Request for peanut butter from the West Side Community Care Center. They have provided a very detailed request, which we appreciate. I know it's slow. That's starting. It's not everybody more having kids for grandkids. That's fine. Thank you. Their community thing. And then Jesse did print out the list of funds. As far as this goes, compare it to, as far as like new construction or new building or something like that goes. But I think it's a terrific project and they've done a really good job getting to the point where they've gotten, I think just once this get over that finish line so they can start construction and stuff.
Historically, I mean, we've done quite a few projects that are for a community that. So I think I mean, that's a little similar that I could draw.
If you look at your totals as far as what we give into the actual entities, I mean, we give it close to 30,000 for the senior center. That's pretty. You look at the total, that's how much.
So they even if the golf club got for 50,000, and then that year they got, or that's or they got over 30,000. Animal shelters got for 16,000. And that was my question is like, if we have these numbers in here, how much a playground got 15,000. So these numbers have been that level. Question.
Yeah, thank you for getting that information together.
So this year we just gave to the post prom party and what we were given to this year. Well, I'm sorry, you said it was 18,420 was in there?
Yeah.
This is for 15,000. Now, are we paying any funds to keep this?
And so we pay $100 in funds. Sure. Three.
So we just pay.
So. And we knew we wanted to be kind of certificate. Because within the parameter, it's where it's pre-established from working.
Is there a minimum balance to keep them?
I can't remember. But yeah, I actually came when the last one. You were trying to keep the cost. You know, right. Rest at this point, that's.
Stipulated in the request to have one calendar year.
And that counts out, left anyway,
Right.
so.
Right. And there's no reason to save it for anything. This is what better use than there's something that can help.
Right, so I make a motion to distribute the $15,000 requested from the Keno funds for the Western Sky.
Second.
Maybe it sounds something worse to its relation on it, it's not. Built that this for return.
Okay, yes, and then, okay, different, and so we did within their timeline. And look what's your return,
Carrie Lou, second that we, the $15,000 in Keno funds with the stipulation that they return the funds, yeah. It's not help for them, here, any more discussion? Attorney, how do you vote? Yes. Sam? Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Tristan.
Awesome.
Sorry, it's Robin Jen. Oh. Come on in, introduce yourself. How are you doing?
So we specialize in what's common teams processing on these, so. I think, one of the keys to the game tonight, is to provide information. Ordinances that are on the agenda that were big. Financing that, which. So water is the first one. That is. Ordinances. The heating, water, and sewer components of the vision project. Yes, the resolution. Yes. So we met with insurance information for the CRN board yesterday, to review. Same, and the information is the full intent of the CRA board, individuals, teams, resources. It's common to also bring these projects to council approval so that the CRA can obtain favorable terms and rates on the financing in the bond market. Since the city has accessed the bond market previously, you have your disclosure document that's already been created, and kind of a standard template now that we can use for the bonds. Fairly common for council to also approve the ordinances as they relate to just the financing of the public infrastructure involved with the project. So that is first three ordinances on the agenda. So state statute requires the creation of, we call them improvement and extension districts, for these types of projects to be financed with tax exempt bond proceeds. So the first ordinance on the agenda is the street improvement district ordinance. So that will allow the financing of the paving, specifically just the paving portion of the project. And the second ordinance is the water and sewer extension district. So we're extending water and sewer service to that area, and that will allow financing of the water and sewer components. And then that last ordinance, that is the actual bond ordinance, so that will set the parameters of the bond financing, one of which is a not to exceed bond amount. So that will authorize the issuance up to, but not to exceed 500,000 is the number that they have set for that project. State statute also does require the issuance of bond anticipation notes to be issued prior to the long-term funding being in place for the project. So that's typically in the form of just a real short 1 or 2 year interest-only note that will provide the funding for construction. And then once construction is complete or substantially complete, we can sign off from the engineer. Then we're in a position where we can get long-term, 20-year bond funding in place for project to be amortized over that period of time. So in terms of next steps for us, we'll put together all of the offering documents, all the legal documents that are needed for the issuance and closing of the bonds. And then we'll coordinate with Ann and the CRA board on lining up the issuance, the closing of the bonds, so that they have the funds ready to go when they need them for construction. It's the plan right now. So hopefully that's just wanted to provide an overview of why we're here tonight, for approval. And we would also recommend that you waive the 3 reading rule for each of those ordinances. We are unable to move forward if we issue the bonds until we have the ordinance in place. So to meet the construction timeline, to have funds available for when they want to start construction. And it's a fairly, in this case particular, it's a pretty short construction timeline as well. So we would recommend that you waive the 3 reading rule for each of those ordinances. And then the last item is that reimbursement resolution. So this is something that Tobin and I, we've put in place a number of years ago now, after a couple hard lessons learned of cities moving forward and paying for initial construction expenses, whatever it may be, in mobilization or some of those initial expenses without first having the bond proceeds in hand and then wanting to be reimbursed from those bond proceeds. But doesn't work that way without that reimbursement resolution. So that reimbursement resolution is really just a protective measure that we've gotten in place on most all of our subdivision projects. Just it's a protective measure. If something like that happens, we don't expect it to, but we have the ability to then go back and reimburse ourselves with exempt proceeds. So that would be the last item that's on the agenda for tonight. So happy to answer any questions you have on that, or if there's any item in particular that you want me to talk through more. I'm happy to provide more info on the bond members themselves or the process or anything like that.
Scheduled construction is slated to start September 16th with a December 31st completion. We anticipate arrival of materials sometime before that September 16th timeframe, so we'll hit the ground running on that.
So on action item 8, the resolution for 240801, in that document, everything that says the principal amount not to exceed 500,000. So in that document though, then it says. It talks about maximum principal amount of 500,000 plus such additional principal amount necessary to pay costs of issuance into fund any reserves. So I guess why is there a discrepancy between the other ordinances and this resolution? And do we know if there's additional principal amount necessary, what that would be?
There shouldn't be. So that 500,000 is on count that we're setting. Any principal amount of bonds that need to fund the cost of issuance. And we wouldn't expect there to be a reserve fund, so we won't need that. We could change that language if we need to. But any amount of the bond proceeds that need to fund the cost of issuance, that 500,000 would be our cap. So we couldn't issue, if the CRA needed 490 of that, that would only leave 10,000 for cost of issuance. So the cost of insurance comes out of the total bond proceeds.
Yeah, to me, it just makes it a little bit cloudy inside. My recommendation would be for the council to strip that language, and then it's set in each single one that it says not to exceed them 500,000, so not plus this other amount.
So to strike plus such additional principal amount.
It should be okay. Yeah, we don't expect to hit that cap. anyways, we would be okay with that.
No, and we initially figured out that it was, you know, if it was 485, then it was gonna be 15,000 in issuance slot. So our amount that we would actually be receiving would be 485.
Is it only the resolution that's the issue or is it any other?
Well, that one just had to discrepancy between only one was.
Yeah, just sure.
Okay.
The next one says. Thousand plus. And so it's.
It's in the top of the page, of the road.
Yeah.
Top of the second.
What do you think about, I know we don't normally do ordinances in less than 3 readings, but. I was trying to break ground, it's not like we're passing this in, you know, January, we have a bunch of cold ground to work with. So I mean, we've got a short time window, and if we miss it now, we're probably not gonna be able to break ground until spring.
But my question is why are we seeing it in such a rush? It was why did we not see this in July then if we knew that we needed to be breaking ground September 16th and not having our opportunity for the 3 readings like we request?
In July, we have not, contractor. We do not have the amounts finalized as far as what the construction cost was going to cost. It was not until we selected the contractor that we could even speak to bond council about what we are going to need for bonding.
And why do they do it in an ordinance when they know that they need to have 3 readings?
We do this in a resolution.
No.
Yeah, and that's what the timeline that Ed talked about, you know, that's very common with every other city in the state too. It's really hard to set that parameter for your not to exceed amount until you have gone through the bid letting process and have your construction bid to then allow us to kind of set that number for your bond. And then to bring that to council for an ordinance to approve. So from our experience too, you know, my 8 years doing this, coming much longer than me, you know, every subdivision project, every really bond ordinance that they put in front of council that have a way different regional, you know, we like to stick to that requirement. But it's pretty common that always wait specifically for the bonds, so that, you know, we can get everything ready to go for issuance and to get things locked in, so that we can fund the set close now. Because it takes a little bit of time to get the bonds in the market, set closing, so help us with documents that we need in order on sort of for the construction started.
That was also the time when the contractor was stuck a little bit for stuff there.
So if we did 2 reading, second reading would be on the 10th, we could still break down on the 16th.
There is this one, your funding would get pushed back.
So if we needed to pay any bills, we would be able to pay.
Right here, which funding sources ARPA. City to use as well. But I don't hold back it to the line of the constructions. That's what's working on this full amount, just all of that, I want to set all check.
There's a lot.
How far are we push back? So you're saying we've had. Yes.
Let's figure it out, it's been, we're seeing about 30 to 45 days for this review. So you would probably be looking at mid to end of October.
It's very at risk in doing that as far as.
There, you know, a couple things that are just one, the interest rate environment, you would wait a little bit longer to lock interest rates. See a lot of risk with that right now. It has been, we have seen a lot of volatility just with an election year. Important starting to see rates go.
So what is our rate at the starting point?
So, station now. We can issue it today, just raising the card one more thing. And then we project the rate, 20 move on right now, it's,
It's not locked in.
not locked in, it's
So they last year, the 2-year one is over.
correct.
Okay, so the first, this one, if that's correct, it's a 2-year bond and it will be right around 4.2 right now. And then once the project is completed, then we would lock in a 20-year one, but you're not locking those bond rates now. Or they will be, it will be locked at the time when we're married. 20-year one.
So yeah, you're locking in your short-term note issuance, which really would probably structure out the short one, at least structure timeline. So, 1 million days. Really flexible. That once you should use the fees, any of the positions. Sort of locked in place. Which is a 1/6 statute requires you to do that, just so you don't over under. And then a lot of cities are issuing financing for projects that don't require those because they think this is, well, it's relatively high right now, price lower rates, going into later this year, into next year, and so seeing short financing in place, and not rates blocking long-term blocking, that's so it's actually a lower rate, right? We don't know which that's. So you would lock that note rate, and then once that restriction is down, then you would lock your long-term. Yeah, we can just get around paying those if the reduce.
And that's what I'm looking at, it's like, it's compromise, but I mean, we're talking about. It's 90 days. Stuff, we need to think about that.
Yeah. Through it, but I haven't.
Spot of that. Use the fence end of this year and into next year. So, yeah, what we've been hearing is possibility for plus 3 years. That's all. It's won't be there. Check know how much it's hearing. It's good for him, but bond markets. Right. So it's what's the bond rates. It's the best idea. It's yeah, basis point. I mean,
Not for your end, but for our end, it'd be good.
you don't pay for it, maybe I'm sure it's to be honest. Majority. It's sale to your. Can't for whatever reason funding. We got larger than the work for those who right then when you want to offer your rates. So you already do
For Sam, I think we should do the 2 readings and consider waiting.
Sometimes says you haven't had a chance to go through it, like, it's delayed.
On Sam,
we can, yeah, okay. You understand?
answer any other questions, whack them up.
Yes, we should be, I'll walk down our.
Send you a link.
Yeah, and I think things we can always, have a members will start ordinance committee. If you honestly should close So, yeah, we can. Schedule, and they should just make sure that works with. Coloring the funds. Well, so. Thank you, yeah.
All right, thank you for the
Yeah.
information.
Please reach out, any questions you have on the ordinance series or the resolution, so here. Thank you.
Sure.
Wait, Justin, can you go ahead with the first reading of ordinance 240802? Or one, sorry. Skipping ahead.
Ordinance number 24-08-01, an ordinance of the city of Grants, Nebraska, creating street improvement district number 1234-01. Then six, finding the boundary of said district and the property to here in providing for the construction of the herein consisting of grading and or regrading, repaving and reguttering, or construction of curb and guttering, stadium required. Exploring, drainage, pedestrian walkways and such other. Any question maybe you should get on.
Yeah. And legal word. Okay. Any questions for Austin on that? Or you have them here?
You're just gonna change the one that needs to have, change the.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's not, yeah. Okay, now the first reading of ordinance number 24 will be those.
Ordinance number 24-08-02. An ordinance of the city of Grant, Nebraska, creating water and sewer extension district number 2024-01 within city, defining the boundaries of the sewer district and the property contained herein, providing the construction of improvements herein consisting of sewer main, windows, service lines, water line, valve, water service, and such other.
Question on that. Okay, one more time. Ordinance, ordinance, first reading for ordinance number 24.
24-08-03. Driving the issuance, sale, and delivery of farm solicitation notes, series 2024, the city of Grant, Nebraska, in one or more series and in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $500,000. Provide interim financing for the cost of constructing and improving streets and other improvements in street improvement district number 2024-01, the city. And for the cost of constructing and improving water and sewer extensions, the improvements to water and sewer extension district number 2024-01. Authorizing certain officials to determine the final aggregate principal amount, maturities, rates, redemption provisions, terms, and other details of such notes, prescribing or the form and details of the notes, covenant to issue general obligation various purpose bonds to pay the notes, surety, or earlier redemption, or to pay the notes from other available funds, including refunding notes, designating the notes as qualified tax exempt obligations, adopting certain post-issuance tax compliant policies and procedures with respect to the notes, and authorizing certain other documents and actions in connection with it.
And one other thing, Sarah, I had a question on that, and Austin answer was, prepayment penalty, and there is a 5-year, basically have to wait 5 years before you can refinance those bonds or that. That's about it.
On the long term.
Yeah.
Long term. Not on these.
No, 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 sure. Sorry, questions were coming along, but that might come up.
Any questions for Austin while we have them on this particular one? Okay. And part of the resolution, so far we just have that one change, so we wanted to make one page two. Yeah, we want to table it, so, yeah, I can work.
I'll make a motion to table resolution 2408-1. Authorize the reimbursement of insurance and fees for tax exempt tax favor debt obligations to the next meeting on.
Sam moved and Tierney seconds that we table resolution 240801, authorizing reimbursement of certain capital expenditures from the proceeds of tax exempt or tax favor debt obligations until September 10th, 2024. Any other questions or concerns? Yes. Sam?
Yes.
Terry? Yes. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, yeah, and we'll make that change on the resolution and coordinate on any other items that are
Yep, just.
identified, and then we'll be probably over Zoom if that's okay on the 10th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again,
Thank you
yeah,
for being here.
have a good night.
Great. Action and discussion on capital expenditures within the library budget.
Okay, so, this was per the request last on a workshop, to, expenditures in there for, the drinking fountain and the lighting project. in West half of the library.
Do we need to be specific on that or? Just because,
You can be in the motion.
okay,
Yeah, if that's, if you have a specific amount of change.
well, and for those,
Yeah,
you know, we want to make sure that it's earmarked for those projects, so we need to do that in motion.
Yes. And then it would be coming out of my cash for the.
And we did get these numbers to Tracy, and she has included them in the budget hearing draft.
So the water fountain. And the lights, that
And
LED lights.
LED lighting project on the west half of the library, in the amount not to exceed $6,000. Out of cash reserves.
I move to accept the capital expenditures with the library budget of $6,000 be taken out of the cash reserves designated for the water fountain and the lighting project.
Second. Andrea moved, Tierney seconds that we approve the capital expenditures within the library budget of $6,000 going to the lighting project, the water fountain, out of the cash reserves in the amount of $6,000. Any discussion? Tierney, how do you vote?
yes.
Andrea? Yeah. Sam? Motion carried. Very good. Would you please? Action and discussion on the budget.
So the thing is in there from our workshop, other than the $6,000 being added to us, the library budget. Again, all documents have been provided to Tracy. The draft documents for the budget hearing have been prepared and reviewed by Jesse. And, we don't need any action at this meeting for this. We'll obviously approve it when we do our appropriations and the three things that you have to do in ordinance or in concurrence with the budget in September.
Just first to take another gander at it. Yes, you know, anything. How long is our budget?
You were just under 2 hours.
Well, we really looked things over very well. So, but if there's anything else you guys want added, take it out, changed. No. All right. We will move on to. Next, ordinance number 240804 and. This is the employee. wages. And I do think we had some questions.
You want me to read it first?
Yes, go ahead and read it first, thank you.
Ordinance number 24-08-04, an ordinance for the compensation of all officers and employees of the city of Grant for the fiscal year of October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025, repealing other conflicting provisions and conflicting sections of ordinances and providing for.
Just want to take a second to say thank you to Lisa. She got a clerical error in one of our items that we did not get fixed earlier. Or the legal description goes, so thank you. And Jesse caught a clerical error in some of the street department as she was reviewing them before she came to Tracy for final approval, so we do make some mistakes, and I had one with the public works foreman. I went back, thank you, Sam. And I went through every single one of the ones that you had sent, and I reviewed all of them from the silo worksheet all the way back to the Nebraska case study, the big 13 sheets that I gave you guys as soon as we get them. I did on this calculation in the average, which I've since adjusted, and you have the correct sheets. So the average for that position should be 32. So, and then this document was prepared with my understanding, what I took away from our meeting. Maybe I heard it wrong. So let me allow you to tell you what I interpreted, and then if there's correction that is needed, let's do that with the documents that have been provided. Sure. So what I wrote down and what I heard was to prepare the wage ordinance with a front load of COLA, 3% COLA upfront, the difference to average, and not just on the back end of the library, which we talked about.
That's not how I remember it, but I can understand we talked about a lot of numbers that day. And it was late in the evening, and so I know you're taking notes, so. To average. You'd be allowable for the mayor's merits to go $1 past that. Anybody that was not already at average, they were gonna get a COLA, so it was a joint compromise. So then we're gonna get this COLA, so then we're going to get more than COLA. Minimum wage was $13.50, so those all numbers clearly right range, with the range being the top of the range being so. Just being exactly accurate, just being exactly accurate, and the library director being accurate, the secretary caretaker. The exact numbers I thought we talked about. I spoke to Kim, I know she's not here. Feedback from her was that's how she remembered it as well. And then the other questions for Charity, I'll let her speak for herself about how this is how I remember all of her speakers.
I think that's what we agreed on, and then, so we see the board running the ballroom, we're all here to, it's like to.
That was the mayor's family,
Okay.
yes. I'm a range. I apologize, I heard that.
For the what refers to coverage.
So when I listened to Hunter, I thought I had places, but I realized I have a lot. And rather than going through every single one of these, I figured I just do this spreadsheet. And then I stick it out.
Especially when I provide that with these further explanations, those are.
I understand how you got your numbers now, okay, but I didn't. Well, I maybe yourself help make your math a little bit.
Compounding the 10.
So that I could just keep the brain of school bills to be the meeting. I could very honest.
So I have the thing it's current. It's now later raises leverage.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, my spreadsheet is, I think. So.
Okay, just over for first reading, we'll get all that through that.
Thank you. There you go.
on the, and. I have a school sheet, I didn't have to do one, the 3311, so I think that would be, down, that one would have been for assets. So yeah, 32, so 3211, so 3311. It's smaller on my sheet, because it's still, back to the act, but that's not an issue.
And just clarify, please, so, like an example of public works assistant two position, there's a higher range here because he still has complete the licensure that are guaranteed to him at certain increments, so therefore.
waters.
Backflow, water, CDL,
Mm-hmm.
we shall have.
Tennis.
If we have a second part-time person currently, so we have to do that in range.
Yes, we have, order for returning employees to come back to the pool and pay for you to be an order. One-time increase if they are expected to be promoted to pool operator. Sam, I put. So, just back to you.
Yeah, I assume it's.
Breakdown in there of those that are spelled out in the library. The swimming pool manual as well as our personnel manuals.
I had that, well, I told my manager it was up to 15, but it's max we already had. And so I gave it, when I gave up, I told them that it was 45.
Since actually for the 2 weeks of public swim lessons. And we're not. Are starting. So
That raises.
that's why it's so. And just, and that's like, John, explaining that, you know, there's times in my mind and just goes over and over. I deal with it on a daily. I'm done effectively. Okay. So I'm saying, appreciate it. That's how it works.
Yes, thank you.
No, I've got spreadsheets ready. I mean, I've got silos ready, spreadsheets ready, but really it's not. You know, sure.
We'll see that on our next agenda. All right, action and discussion on resolution 24/084, a resolution under mayor. Council to grant the minimum of the person. So do we need to wait on this till the ordinances? Or.
So what I should not. I had an error when I traced my copy and pasted my document in there. I have 3 decimal points. So I carried over those decimal points. And you'll see that on page 29. Sorry, we're skipping around here. From point 334, I took the decimal points in my Excel document. That's rounding up to point 3.
And so we're starting to look at new employee and new phone rates.
So at least that portion of it would need to be approved and retroactive to. Fantastic. Page 6, I've included the first stab at the department head. So change on that page in the addition. Those are sort of the language I got from the other cities that have multiple different heads. So that's what it's. Then page 35 was just changing it to reflect the American trying to guidance or next 3. If you have learned a lot by your issues. Just so factor, there's the page 35 spells out the licensure. It was just one of those things that worked out, so you get to come see that breakdown. I spoke about with the wife.
Have a chance to read the data, things, any issues with them.
No. I don't really have any concerns about this part, obviously the pay portion is different. People, I guess as long as you guys are okay with. The biggest thing is probably just the department head to approve, that's how you guys want that to work. Changes to that, that would be the only thing, the rest of it. It's little changes, but it's.
There's no substantial changes in any overtime or any sort of calculation other than the retroactive of the vacation, so this would become effective immediately, basically. We wouldn't have to do the 30-day.
The pay increase that would cover all the departments, correct? Putting the two that are going to be office and town meeting
Very much pages that all look at.
and 35.
Free so that it's written so that they can still recommend to you
Mhm.
for the increase.
So like the cemetery or
You would have to recommend it to the city council, so you would still stop it from coming.
if I don't see
If you
it.
don't see, stamp.
Where you see, is that?
Trying to mirror the language that was throughout the document with respective department heads and governing bodies.
Because it says that you may recommend to them based on. Either verbal or written communication from department heads, supervisors, and the governing body, which would include the cemetery and library.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? So we need, either table it or approve it, that what I'm.
How do you have one for the rest of the. Well, if they were, then you can. And then you.
April.
It's.
personnel.
So to say, effective retroactive to. You know that date?
Maybe when you, make changes, put the date on the line, personnel line.
Normally,
Plus August 24th.
yeah, this is the line, so it would be on the front.
I mean, the exact dates, but you put that on this.
It's on
August 26th, 2024. I didn't change something.
or. You're gonna change. Yeah. But it might change.
So that can do it.
Yeah,
Oh, you forgot your other one.
I forgot my other one doesn't work.
It works sometimes.
About for 15 minutes.
Well, because we've been paying, giving them leave. According to this, so we need to say. Yeah.
So retroactive.
Third reading is last meeting. 24.
24.
It's like one. Farther and farther away.
State retroactive to April 1st, 2024.
So move to any seconds that we approve resolution 24 08-04. Concerning the personnel manning, making the vacation leave or. Or any discussion. Anybody? Yes. Sam, two, yes, motion carried. Bills and claims, did everyone have a chance to review the bills and claims?
Should not. Claims in the notes. 40,000.
Second.
Terry moves, and second to accept function bill between the amount of $143,689.30. Any discussion? Sam, how is it? Shannon? Yes. Attorney? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 8:09. Thank you, everyone, for listening.